What's up to my Rooted Collective? Welcome back to Awakened and Rooted, where the veil is thin, the vibes are deep, and the stories will make you question everything. So if you are into the mystical, the metaphysical, or the downright unexplainable, you are in the right place. So let's get started.
To all people out there who believe in the supernatural, let me tell you what's happening in this country. Our ancestors are causing in Black America. Let me offer you some proof. All the major elements have been hit. The fire at Nottoway, that's fire. The white man who was found in Lake Lanier, that's water. The tree falling on the Confederate Museum, that's earth. The tornadoes that's been blowing down mostly non-black areas, that's wind. The lightning that just struck the police vehicle in Oklahoma, that's lightning. That's all the elements. I've had visions, and let me tell you, it's gonna get 10 times worse. Our ancestors are on a spiritual fucking rampage right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but you may want to turn on your TV. Because the next time it actually comes around, it's going to be 10 times worse. They are demanding we be treated correctly and given reparations for what we've been through. Just saying.
Is lightning an element? I know earth, air, fire, and water. Is lightning an element?
Spiritual shit I do that just makes sense for me. I keep bells on all doorknobs, the front and the back. I don't do the whole manifestation boards anymore. I just petition and I keep it moving. After I write everything I want in great detail, don't try to sum shit up. If you want a little power boost, put like a road opening scripture or mantra over it, like Isaiah 55:11. After you're done writing, write the scripture on top of your words. I carry the same $2 bill in my back left pocket, and I wrote over, I will lack no good thing because I won't. I also have what I like to call enchanted do-rags. I'm going to show y'all what I mean. So I have like this wall of do-rags that's like never ending, and each do-rag I have in the inner lining part, so this part, I have a different mantra or scripture. So like for an example, everybody knows orange is used for road opening. I have a road opening scripture. You know, black is protection work, white is too. Well, that's kind of off where I gotta wash that one. Red is for passion, pink is too somewhat. The green one I use for like abundant. And then you see I got different shades of blue, which I use for different types of healing. All colors signify something. Because as it says, for whatsoever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Always take seriously the shit you put on your head, weaves included. And then within the same do-rag, I always keep a mercury dime. Not a regular dime, a mercury dime. If you know, you know. And the first Sunday of every new month, I throw new mustard seed in the corner of my house and vacuum up the old. And I'm not really into the moon cycles like that, so I'm not going to fake it. However, what I do follow when it comes to the moon is leading up into the full moon. During the waxing part of the moon is when I bring stuff in because the moon is getting bigger, so like abundance. During the waning part is when I cut and cleanse and let go of shit. Because for the waning part of the moon is getting smaller again. Also, I only pray in nature. Because as my grandma says, go to the things God created that man has not corrupted. But man didn't create the elements, the nature, the wind, and stuff like that. So that's where I pray. I implore you, try praying outside for 7 days straight.
I like what he said. I have to get into the habit of covering my head because I've heard so much about protecting yourself with a head covering. So I have to do a little bit of research on that, and then once I'm sure that that's something that aligns with my beliefs, then I'm going to kind of decide what I want to use for head coverings.
3 days ago, they moved Annabelle, and everything's been sideways since. Now, I ain't one to spook easy, but when I saw the headline say Annabelle was transported from Monroe to New Orleans, my stomach turned. You remember what the Warren said, right? She should never be moved. Never. They didn't say unless it's secure or unless she's blessed. They said never. Well, guess what happened the same night she hit Louisiana? The largest sugarcane plantation down here burned clean to the ground. Gone. Hundreds of years old. Survived floods, storms, even a civil war. Gone. Flames so hot they turned the sky red. And that same night, 11 inmates escaped New Orleans prison. Vanished. No alarms, no signs of struggle, just gone. Now here's the part nobody's talking about. A priest went missing too. Father Bellamy. He was the one assigned to pray over the transport crate. Folks said he called the diocese the night before and said he heard whispering coming from the dog. Said it's not her voice I'm hearing. It's voices. He ain't been seen since, and New Orleans feels different. Air's heavier, dogs don't bark at night, and folks say they keep seeing a little girl in white standing at the edge of the fire line where the plantation once stood. She's holding something, looks like a doll, and her eyes, they don't blink.
Too many coincidences.
Never accept jewelries from strangers, and after you hear this story, maybe I might convince you. So we're gonna call the person who submitted this story Joelle. This happened to her in Cap Haitien. So Joelle usually goes back and stays in Haiti during the summer, and what ended up happening to her was horrifying to say the least. So in Cap Haitien, she's shopping at this local market when this old woman stopped her. She had on this head wrap that nearly covered her eyes and like this weird raspy voice. She walked up to Joelle, grabbed her hand, and said, "You have a kind heart. Let me give you something." Before Joelle could even respond, the woman slid a delicate gold ring onto her finger, and she said it had a deep red stone almost like the color of dried blood. Joelle tried to take it off to get a closer look, but the woman whispered, "It chooses you." And then she walked off and just vanished into the crowd, just like that. So Joelle didn't think anything of it, just kept going about her day. That night, Joelle started having vivid dreams of a woman crying underwater. This dream just kept reoccurring, and each night the woman got closer. Her skin was pale, her eyes wide open, her mouth was full of what looked like seaweed, and every time Joelle would wake up gasping for air as if she had been drowning. Then, things got worse. Mirrors around her started to crack when she passed. Her plants that she had in that house withered. The family dog just started acting weird. This dog wouldn't go near Joelle, not even when she had food. Now Joelle says she wouldn't have suspected anything. But the weird thing was, every morning that she woke up, it seemed like that ring on her finger, the innocent little delicate ring, was getting tighter by the day. And it was getting so tight, at some point it looked like her fingers started swelling up. So she tried to cut it off. When she tried, she heard a whisper in her ear saying, "You belong to me now." And accepting this little ring went on to cost Joelle so much of her life that seriously, you couldn't even predict what happened next. If you want to hear more about Joelle's hauntings, how she was able to successfully get rid of this ring and whatever energies came with it, you're gonna have to comment part 2. I might actually just drop part 2 on my YouTube channel before I drop it on here. So make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. And follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. And if you're wondering about my hair in these curls, Tamish Beauty.
So this one I am looking at before I click on it. It is 7.5 minutes long.
Man, I encountered a whole succubus in Cali on my mama I did. Made me not even want to link up with random people no more. Nigga, I almost went to jail and everything. On this particular day, me and my partner decided to not hang with the colored folk and went and linked up with our light-skinned counterparts. And I experienced some crazy, freaky, traumatic stuff, bro. You might hear this story and take it for face value, but I see the deeper meaning behind stuff. I see the deeper spiritual meaning behind stuff. You gotta put your spiritual eyes on to see what I see. Before I tell this story, viewer discretion is advised. Alright, so boom, me and my partner, we on our little adventure, you know what I'm saying? We riding around, you know what I'm saying? This particular day, I gotta shoot a music video. As we riding around, you know what I'm saying? Me and him talking about God, we talking about water spirits, we talking about succubus, we talking about the story about Jezebel and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? They have Jezebel inside of most of these females. I'm telling him stuff like, bro, you gotta watch them females that be trying to entice you into having sexual relations, especially the ones that ain't got a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of, cause nigga, they gonna drain you of your energy. And around this time, we practicing celibacy and trying to have sexual discipline, you feel what I'm saying? So anyway, we riding around chopping it up about that, and we end up going to the mall cause I gotta get some clothes for my video shoot. We go to Neiman Marcus, I end up getting my clothes or whatnot. We started getting hungry, so we decided to get something to eat at this expensive Italian restaurant bar in the middle of the mall. When we sit down at the bar, it's a whole bunch of wealthy, light-skinned counterparts that's sitting around at the bar with us also. So me, around this time, I'm being friendly. I want to know what everybody do and how they make their money and what can they teach me. So, you know, I'm just showing my bubbly social butterfly side. Hi, how you guys doing? How's the food? You know, just being friendly with people. And as I'm doing that, I'm noticing it's a couple that keep on watching me. So they watching me so hard, I go over there and speak to them to break the ice. We end up conversating and I find out that they married millionaires. She own her own cosmetic line and he a flight attendant. And they also invested in real estate and stuff like that. So we conversating and my homeboy chopping it up with the husband and I'm talking to the wife. And as me and the wife talking, she just kept on saying, I love your energy. I love your energy. Oh my God, I just love your energy. So anyway, me and her talking and we end up getting on the subject of zodiac signs and stuff like that. She was like, oh my God, what's your sign? Because you're just so vibrant and stuff like that. And I'm like, I used to label myself as a Scorpio, but I don't associate myself with zodiac signs no more, so I'm just a child of God. So when I say that, she like, oh my God, I love the way you think. You're so spiritual. So anyway, the conversation was getting so good and the vibe was just so right at the time that they invited us out to eat later on. And after we go out to eat, they invited us back to their house. Y'all, I didn't sense nothing weird about this. Well, I take that back. I did sense in my spirit that she was flirting with me and he was a little bit too chill with the way she was acting around me. Then I started thinking, maybe she's just super friendly and maybe he's just a chill guy that's confident in his relationship. I should have just went with my first mind, bro. So anyway, they sent us the address to where we gonna meet at. And it's this nice, expensive restaurant that's on the hill sitting next to the ocean. And they say they gonna pay for everything. So I'm like, bad. Free food, light-skinned counterparts, no drama. What could possibly go wrong? So I end up shooting part of my music video or whatnot. And as I'm shooting my music video, the husband and the wife keep on texting me and my partner asking where we at, and is we ready to go out to eat. They text us so much, I'm like, dang, bro, why they so anxious for us to come? Why they so anxious for us to pull up? So anyway, we brush it off. I text them back and say, hey, we gonna be there in 45 minutes, you know what I'm saying? No, don't rush us, you know what I'm saying? We gonna be there. So we end up pulling up to this restaurant or whatnot. The restaurant had a nice, beautiful setting. The ocean was right next to the restaurant. We can see all the hills and stuff. They had a lot of nice luxury cars in the front. They got security guards all around and stuff like that. It's full of light-skinned counterparts. I'm like, bet, this a vibe. So we end up parking and stuff, and we had to pay like $45 just to park. We end up walking to the front, and the security guard stopped us and asked us, do we have reservations? And I'm like, no, I ain't know nothing about no reservations. And a woman I met come to the front and stop the security guard and say, hey, they're with me. So boom, we get in and stuff, we having a good time, but whole time, her husband is nowhere to be found. So I'm asking, like, where's your husband? Where your husband at? I expected him to be here too, like, you know what I'm saying? I wanted all of us to have a good time. And as I'm asking her that, out of nowhere, she just started crying. Then she started saying, F him, I don't want to be with him anymore. He doesn't know how to treat a woman, I don't want to be with him anymore. And I'm like, bro, what just happened in the span of 45 minutes? So she getting loud to the point to where the security guards got to calm her down. And I'm looking at my partner like, bro, what we done got ourselves into? So after this, she calmed down and whatnot, and she called the waitress by name and tell the waitress to bring her some drinks. But as she asking for the drinks, the waitress looking at us like, and I'm looking at my partner like, bro, you peeped that? But I brush it off. Cause we in a nice setting, the security guards, we out in the public. What could possibly go wrong? We good. So the waitress come back with the drinks and she go down, and I'm talking about going ham. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, bro, I did not come to babysit no drunkard. So after she finished drinking all her drinks and whatnot, she keeping her composure. She ain't talking with no slurs. She ain't doing none of that, right? So we all started back talking. As I'm talking about different conversations with her and my partner, I heard her whisper, I want both of y'all. And I stopped and I'm like, what you just say? And she said, oh, nothing, I'm fine. You can finish the conversation. So I start finishing the conversation or whatnot. And she whispered something again and say, I want y'all energy. By this time, I ain't friendly no more because I keep on hearing her saying weird stuff. I'm catching what she's saying. So I'm like, bro, what are you saying? She started crying and say, you're just like the other ones. You're going to judge me if I tell you what I really want. And I'm like, what is it that you want? She said, I need your energy. I need to feel both of you guys. And I'm like, what you mean you need to feel both of us? She said, I need your black energy. So by this time, I'm peeping what she's trying to say. And I said, excuse me, I got to go to the restroom. Tell me why, when I go to the restroom, she get up and follow behind me. So I go inside the men's restroom or whatnot. And while I'm using the restroom, I heard the door open. So I come out the stall to see who it was. And it was her. And she was like, please give it to me now. I need it. And grabbing on me and touching on me and stuff. And I'm like, bro, get up off me. And her eyes started turning red. And she was like, are you scared? Are you scared? I done had your kind before. Your kind gives the best energy. So she's trying to push me up against the stalls and stuff, and I'm pushing her hand away from me like, man, go on. And I run out the restroom because I ain't trying to catch no case. So she started screaming and she was like, help. So as I'm running out the restroom, I'm signaling my partner, bro, let's go. Like, we got to get up out of here. And I'm like, bro, let's go. So we start walking real fast out of the front door, and the security guards running to the back to the restroom. And all I heard is her coming around the corner saying, I need them. I just need their energy. Don't leave me. I need them. So we standing in the front trying to ignore the woman like, bro, she weird. So we wait on our car for valet and stuff. And it's a black valet dude that pulled up in our car. And when he jump out, he say, boy, y'all better get up out of here. And I was like, man, we ain't do nothing. That woman tripping. And he was like, boy, y'all really dodging a bullet. Because every weekend, that woman and her husband be coming to this restaurant with black dudes. And they always be leaving together. And after meeting them people, a couple of them black dudes on Hollywood Boulevard strung out and crazy now. Boy, I must have been so thankful and thanking God on my way back to where I was staying at, boy. Talking about Dodge the real life bullet. Y'all be careful out there.
That was good. That didn't feel like it was 7.5 minutes. He told a good story. Whether I believe it or not, it was a good story.
Every time you mention honoring ancestors, a Christian jumps out the comment section like, "That's demonic. The dead know nothing. Jesus is the only way." But here's what they forget. They call on Abraham, Moses, Isaac, Jacob, David, Noah, Paul, Peter, all day, every day. None of those people were your ancestors. None of them were even real. But your actual ancestors, the ones who birthed you, lived, fought, bled, you ignore them for a storybook full of fictional men with European names. Let's break this colonized contradiction down, step by step. 1. Jesus' entire identity was built on ancestors. Matthew 1, 1-17 literally opens with the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So let me ask, if the dead know nothing, why does your Jesus need a family tree? 2. God introduces himself through ancestors. Exodus 3:6, God says, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." So God literally name drops the dead. But when we honor our grandmothers and libate for our elders, it's demonic? Make it make sense. 3. Jesus talked to the dead. Matthew 17, 1-3, the transfiguration moment. Jesus is straight up having a conversation with Moses and Elijah, dead men. So let me get this right. When Jesus does it, it's holy. But when we do it, it's witchcraft. 4. The tombs of prophets were honored. Luke 11:47, Jesus says, "You build tombs for the prophets." So people were building monuments for the dead. But the moment a black family sets up an altar or burns incense for grandma, here come the demons, right? 5. Hebrews 11, the dead men, Hall of Fame. Hebrews 11 lists all your biblical faves. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, all honored like legends. So yes, Christianity is built on dead men. You just call it faith instead of ancestral reverence. Final thought. Let's stop the double standard. When Africans honor their ancestors, it's demonized. But when the church does it, it's canonized. You were programmed to forget your lineage, to call on strangers from ancient books instead of your bloodline. You say Jesus saved me, but it was you who did the healing, your resilience, your energy, your ancestors who walked with you. Even your Bible says you can move mountains if you just believe in yourself. So why are you still waiting on a man the Romans nailed to a cross when your own roots made it this far?
What y'all think about what he just said? And was he AI?
Today was an absolute nurse's hell today. A nurse's fucking like hell today. God damn. You know, I've been being a nurse for 21 years. I have been a nurse, I should say. And I thought helping people would be rewarding. But it fucking ain't. It ain't rewarding. It chaps my ass that every day I got to come home with my head hurting, my mother blood pressure up because somebody want to call me help all damn day. Now it's okay for 1 or 2 people to be like, help. But when you got 30 patients all yelling help, god damn it, it's one of me and 30 of y'all. Okay? Get all the way. Like, all the way over there. Okay? Go all the way over there. And then you be wanting to say, Miss Jones, sit down, Miss Jones, sit down. You're going to fall all day. Sit down, Miss Jones, sit down, Miss Jones. So you know what? At about 2 o'clock, Miss Jones, go and take that fall. I'm going to do the paperwork. I got the paperwork right here because I'm not getting up no more. You want to split your head? Hey, you got rights. God damn it. I'm not getting the fuck up no more at all today. Okay? Proceed to falling. I got the paperwork ready. Gonna do a dive. I ain't got the patience, time, or the strength on this good here Sunday to help 30 people. I'm motherfucking tired, okay? This is from one nurse that ain't scared to voice this. I am tired, okay? I ain't got no more pills to pass, okay? I can't give out another goddamn Tylenol, goddamn it, I promise you, with my back hurting. Okay, this shit is just, if I got to make it on TikTok, y'all. Please follow me. Get me out that nursing home. Follow me, please. I'm 53. I'm tired. I've been passing pills for 21 years. Now I want to be a TikToker, okay? My ass too flat to be a stripper. So this is all the I got, okay? Please follow your girl. I got to be a TikTok creator before I die. I'm 53. I ain't got much time left. Hit the follow, please. I'll follow you back.
First of all, you holding your glasses up like this. They make those things for the back of your glasses so they won't slide down. That just kept irritating me throughout the whole TikTok. Second of all, it's Sunday. You cussing too much for a Sunday. You are a little bit older of a nurse to be working in a nursing home. They have other jobs for nurses that you don't have to be standing on your feet for your whole 8 hours and passing pills to 30 people and making yourself aggravated. And that's supposed to be a nurse horror story. That's a nurse every day. And I think the rest of my TikToks from here on out are nursing creepy things or horror stories.
Story time. Okay, so I used to work at this nursing home, and creepy shit only used to happen in this one room. And like now that I think about it, that room was creepy, but it didn't get that creepy until this lady moved in it. She was about 80 something years old, didn't do much talking. So I went in there to like clean up, right? I'm looking in the bathroom. Mostly stuff is clean because she don't really use the bathroom. I'm sweeping, and then I was sweeping behind the door, and behind the door is a closet, right? And there's just like one shoe in between the door, so it doesn't close all the way. And like I thought it was just like there, so I moved it and I closed the door, right? And like when I first came in, she was looking out the window. And like another creepy thing is that her neck goes like this. So she's looking out the window and her neck is like this. And so when I moved the shoe, she was like, put the shoe back. And I'm like, how the fuck did she see that? It gets weirder. Like for
part 2.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
Okay, so here's my scary ghost story. Evil spirit story. Anyways, I was home watching this YouTube video on about witches and evil spirits and what they do to cause chaos in people's life and even in the church. And this lady was, giving her story on how her family was trying to get her involved in this cult and sending people out to do evil things, whatever. And what signs to look out for. I'm not going to tell the title of the YouTube video. I was just in bed. It was a 50-minute long, documentary, and someone asking her questions and she's responding, and it was a whole little story. And I think it was an hour. I was getting to the 50-minute mark, and I was like, I gotta get up out of bed. I feel like stuck and drained in bed. I'm like, let me get up. So I got up and I went to the bathroom and I turned on the sink water, and I was washing my face, and I'm listening to the story go, and after that it just like cut, and then it sounded like whoa, 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 and I was like, and I felt weird. I felt like something else entered the bathroom with me, and it was crazy feeling because I felt the hairs on my arms just stood up, and I knew I'm in the bathroom, but it felt way different, like a portal. That's what I had to It felt like a portal was in my bathroom, opened up, and something else came in. It felt so dark, everything. I felt that energy so strong. The way I screamed, I had no pants on. I just had a shirt on, and I ran out my apartment door, went down the stairs, and I realized I have no pants where I'm gonna run. So I go back inside, but I called my cousin and I told my cousin everything. And I was like still scared or whatever. The apartment still felt weird. So she's praying, whatever. I'm like grabbing pants, and I put shoes on real quick, and I'm praying with her, and I'm, calling on God and everything. And then after that, I ran outside and I went for a walk. And I'm like, okay, my mom's job is up the block. I'm about to go walk over there and tell her. I don't know what the hell entered into this apartment, but I was just watching a YouTube video. I thought, it's nothing. And I went and told her, and she's like, okay, I'm Haitian, so my mom is like, you probably let in a spirit in the house. You can't be watching these, stories, because you don't know what spirit is attached to that story and on that person that was telling that story, and now they're just like trying to enter. Hold on, and my cat. So she comes home, and she started praying hard and heavy. And then I couldn't sleep, but then I was just laying in bed. I still feel weird. She's in her room, and all of a sudden I hear her started mumbling and yelling out loud. And then I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah. And she goes back to sleep. But for me, I started to fall asleep, and I felt something come into my room. I said, oh, hell no. I was scared. I was like, I prayed and still was awake, but then I slept once. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, nah, I'm not even going to fall asleep at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to wait. So once morning come, I slept only for a little bit, maybe an hour. Then I got up and I asked her, like, hey, I heard you yelling at night. I heard you yelling. What happened? She said, that what you told me, I couldn't believe about the YouTube. But then I realized this is true, because she felt something entered her room, and she started praying. And then maybe that's when I started, after she was done yelling and stuff like that, I had drifted off to sleep, and then I felt something come into my room. Listen, I never went back on that video. After that, we just prayed, and that was it. Never again experienced that again. But yeah, sometimes what you watch and what you see is like an open portal to other spirits coming into, the realm. Yeah. I probably was all over with the story, but I have some different spooky story as well.
So when my mom told me this story, it gave me goosebumps. So my mom is a hospice nurse, and one night a few years ago she was on call, and she gets a call from one of the hospitals in town that says, hey, we got a patient, they just got the bad news from the doctor, and they want to be on hospice. My mom, do her job, okay, let them know I'll be there shortly, probably take me about 10 minutes. So at the hospital was this woman, we'll call her Jane. She had just gotten told by the doctor, the bad news that she had terminal cancer, and she didn't have a whole lot longer to live. So while her family was there, they elected to go on hospice for the remaining time that she had left. So after they had made the decision as a family, her kids, everybody, they left. So Jane was kind of sitting there taking it all in while she was waiting for the hospice nurse. In this moment, a woman walks in her room, and Jane's kind of looking up like, who the hell are you? And this woman introduces herself and says, hi, my name's Betty. I'm your neighbor. I've been your neighbor for the last couple days here in the hospital. I'm just in the room down the hall. And I heard the bad news. So I just wanted to come in and say, is there anything I can do for you to let you know that it's going to be okay? And Jane was like, what do you mean you heard how did you hear the bad news? And she was kind of taken aback by this. And she's talking to me and she goes, no, I'm okay. I think I just need some time. The hospice nurse is coming. I'm going to just take some time to myself. So this woman comes to her and goes, okay, okay, sweetie, we're in the Midwest. Okay, sweetie, if you need anything, let me know. And so instead of turning around and leaving the room, Betty turns and walks into the bathroom of Jane's room and shuts the door. And Jane was just kind of shocked, like, what is happening here? And literally, probably 60 seconds after that happened, my mom got there. She came and she knocked on the door, hi, I'm the hospice nurse. Do you have a minute to talk? And Jane was kind of like, yeah, I guess. So my mom, she's been a nurse for a really long time. And so she sees like this hesitation on Jane's face and she can hear it in her voice. And she's like, is there something on your mind? Do you want to say something? And Jane was kind of like, so my neighbor, Betty, just came in and, was really sweet, really a nice lady, but she just went into the bathroom and she's still in there. My mom was like, oh, okay. Should how long has she been in there? And Jane was like a minute or so, but I can't, I don't hear anything. I don't hear, what's going on. So my mom is trying to be very polite. Obviously, this is a situation where Betty doesn't need to be there. And, my mom's been in healthcare for a long time. She thought maybe Betty might have a little dementia or something. So she walks over to the bathroom door and she knocks and there's no answer. And she knocks again and she says, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm with hospice. I'm going to open the door. So then she goes to open the door and there's nobody in there. So then, my mom says to Jane, gosh, there's nobody in here. And Jane's like, kind of wigged out. Obviously, she's like, I had a conversation with her. Like, I'm not sleeping. I'm not groggy. She was in there. And so, my mom was like, okay, well, let's, he just had a traumatic, thing happen. It's a lot going on. Let's kind of get going. We'll talk through this and, maybe I'll go check on Betty and maybe she slipped out at some point when you didn't see her. So they finished the paperwork because, of course, it's healthcare. There's paperwork for everything. So they finished the paperwork. My mom says, they finished chatting and my mom says, okay, well, I'll go check on Betty and we'll be with them. And Jane's like, okay, thank you for coming. So my mom leaves and walks over to the room that Betty said she was from. And she looks in and there's nobody in there. So then she walks down to the nurse's station to report off, I guess, what she had done and kind of keep in communication with the nurses. And as she's reporting to the nurses, she tells them, hey, Jane said Betty kind of came in her room right before I got there and I can't find her in her room now. So I just want to make sure that, if she has dementia or something, she's not lost somewhere. So if somebody could just make sure she's okay. And I'll never forget my mom's face when she told me this part. She said the nurse looks at her and goes, what? So my mom goes, Betty, I just want to make sure she's okay. She was in, and recants the story. And the nurse looks at her and goes, Betty died this morning, like 12 hours ago. Betty's not there. Betty was not in her room. And of course, my mom was shooketh by this. My mom is not a storyteller. She's not she's a spiritual person, but, she's not big into the paranormal. So this really took her back. She was pretty freaked out by this, but yeah, when she told me the story, like I said, I know her. She doesn't make up stories. She doesn't make this stuff up. So when she was telling me this, like, I got goosebumps. I'm like, that is creepy.
That was creepy, but I had a feeling he was gonna say Betty died that day.
When I found out Medusa had hair like me, and they weren't snakes, it all made sense as to why they have demonized our hair for so long. What they don't want you to know is the figure that they demonized in Greek mythology is actually Naga Kanya. It is a powerful Naga goddess. I broke down in a few other videos the Naga serpent, which leads back to people who look like me. Took her story and flipped it and made her to be something to be feared because they couldn't handle her. Power was too much for them. Snakes on her head aren't just some monster imagery. Those snakes represent her 9 ether energy, aka her locks. Her locks could literally move at will when her kundalini was activated. Medusa's energy was so strong, she used her locks to battle any evil force in the cosmos. But instead of honoring her power, guess what they did? Just like they do with everything else. They demonized her. Kind of like most people do today with things like witchcraft, hoodoo, anything that was used within our culture that was able to defeat them. They label it demonic and we let them. If you don't know, the Naga gods are a powerful extraterrestrial race. Some have serpent, half human. Others with just serpent features, and they come from the Sirius star system. Sirius star system is deeply connected to ancient wisdom and knowledge, as well as spiritual energy. I'm shining so bright. Look at this ray just shooting through my car like this. If you don't know by now, what you see in Greek mythology are just bits and pieces of our story. Real stories mixed with lies to hide the truth. Statues and ancient stories can be found in all corners of the world. Seen in Greek mythology when they cut off Medusa's head was symbolic. It was about stripping the Naga, aka us, from our roots, from our very essence. Made us forget who we are and where we come from. Took away our knowledge of self and spiritual power. But to be honest, we let them. The gag is Medusa is still alive because she's an immortal goddess. She's a being of immense power. Because we're all energy and energy never dies, she's still here. It's like the ancient Naga exist in the cosmos. These beings just waiting for us to remember who we are. Why do y'all think they've demonized locks and natural hair so much? Do you know how weird that is to tell somebody they can't wear something that grows naturally out of their scalp? These locks are not just a hairstyle. They're deeply connected to our roots, our spiritual power. The way locks naturally spiral mirror the coils in the galaxy. Our ancestors understood that our hair is an antenna, connects us to higher realms and the universe. I especially know this to be true because I've told y'all I've always been tapped in, but when I got locks, well, y'all see the end result of that, right? Downloads be downloading. That's why locks especially represent 9 ether, the highest form of energy flowing through our carbon-rich hair. Because yes, we are full of carbon. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. This represent our kundalini energy, our life force, and they don't want us tapping into that. Trying to get us to cut, straighten, or even sometimes cover up our natural hair, strip us of our essence, just like they cut Medusa's head off to strip her of her power. Truth is, locks are a form of resistance. When we wear our hair in a natural state, we rejecting the system that tried to strip us from our power. Because we are our ancestors, we connecting back with the Naga's ancient wisdom through our hair. It's our symbol of freedom and divine energy. Like Medusa's hair moved with her will, your hair carries that same untamed cosmic energy. You already know, they demonize what they fear they can't control. Medusa's locks were feared because they represented her true cosmic power. So just like Medusa was truly never unalived, our power is still very much alive. You gotta take your power back, reclaim it. But you can't do that if you embracing everything outside of you. We are remembering who we are, and that's what they fear the most. So keep rising, y'all. Peace, love, and light, and gratitude for watching.
Let me give y'all a story time about a time that I encountered what I believe to not be a real person. And when I say not a real person, I believe that this person was not amongst the land of the living. Or I don't know. I don't think that she was a real person. So I think that she was an entity, or there was an entity inside of her. And so let me explain myself. If you don't believe in a supernatural realm or a realm outside of what you're living in now, then this video might be hard for you to grasp. So maybe about April. It was April. I had been going through a lot. I had been really sick, in and out of the hospital, just battling a lot. And I felt like I was like under spiritual attack because every time I went to the hospital, they were having trouble finding things. You know, it was just like a lot of back and forth. And it was just like the attack was so great. I felt like it was just not of this realm. Like, you ever go through something so crazy, so traumatic that you're like, God, this don't even make no sense. The stuff that's happening don't even make sense. Like, that's where I was at that point in my life. So this one particular night, I had been having some issues. I had been in and out of the hospital, but I was feeling better. But my mom came down to stay with me. She came down from out of town to be with me. So I was coming from work, and I worked out of town. So I was like maybe 3 hours away, and I was finishing up a contract. So this particular night, I was on my way home, and I called my mom. I was like, hey, do you need anything from the store before I get home? Because I got to pass the store anyway. Now, this store by my house, at that point, I had never been inside of the physical store, but I would always get gas at the pumps, like, because they have tap to pay. So I never had to physically go in. But this night, my mom was like, no, it's fine. And then she was like, well, you know what? You can stop and get me such and such. So I pulled up to the store. When I pulled up, I immediately noticed that it had to be about almost 10 o'clock at night. There was not a lot of people in the store. There was the clerk. There was one person at the counter playing lottery. And there was myself. And then there was a young lady in the store. Now, I went up to in my mind, I was like, well, let me scan the store and see if there's anything that I would like. Like, if I see a snack, I'm going to get it. So I just did a quick little 1-2 throughout the store. I didn't see anything. I was already tired from driving. So I turned around from the cooler to get ready to make my way toward the checkout counter. And in the aisle behind me, maybe about 5 feet away from me, there was a Caucasian girl. And when I turned around to her, she was facing me. She had nothing in her hands. She didn't appear to be shopping. I can't even put an age on her, guys. You know how normally you can guess about a person's age or maybe generalize them and say she was a young girl, she was an older lady, she was middle age. I couldn't put age on her at all. When I turned around to her, when I turned around to look at her, she might have been about my height. She had shoulder length, strawberry blonde hair. Like, it was like a red, it wasn't strawberry blonde. It was the reddish brown looking hair. It was about right here. And her face was ghostly pale. And I'm not one to judge off appearance because I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for a long time. So I know that there are illnesses that can affect a person's appearance. This was not like that, y'all. This was nothing like I had seen before. She was the color of this binder. Her face was the color of this binder, but not in a skin textured way. Her face had a kind of almost textured look, like a flaky, floury, ill look. But that wasn't it. That wasn't what did it. When I turned around, she said, we locked eyes. Okay, when I turned around, we locked eyes because she started speaking to me. Her head was positioned in a very unnatural way. She was like, "You're so pretty." And when we locked eyes, my heart dropped. I had a feeling of dread, of fear that consumed me. And she was giving me a compliment, but everything about her gave unnatural. Everything about her gave unreal. Her head that was tilted to the side, this the way it cocked this way when she spoke to me. Her face was pale. It looked like she was sick. Her lips were like a strawberry, like a cherry red. Her eyes were like a greenish brown. But it was everything about her body movements, everything about her tone, everything about the way she looked at me that scared me. My heart dropped, y'all. And I'm going to tell you exactly who she looked like. I don't know if you guys remember the movie The Exorcist, the original one. She looked exactly like the little girl that was sick in that movie. And I don't watch scary movies. I don't bring scary movies into my house. This is a movie that I saw as a child that I probably watched with my cousins growing up. That's how I was able to identify. And so I said, "Thank you." And I made my way to the counter. When I went to the counter, she didn't continue. I don't even know what she did behind me. I made my way to the counter and I checked out. I got in my car and I was so scared, y'all. I turned around and checked my back seat. I looked in the back seat. This is how scared I was. And as I'm backing out of the parking lot, the convenience stores, they have glass panes. So I'm driving really slow, looking like to see, is she checking out? And I saw her sweatshirt briefly in the store, but I didn't see it anymore. And then I looked at the cars, like, I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm looking at the cars, like, what kind of car could this young old lady be driving? Like, because she wasn't old enough to where she was just hanging out in the convenience store. She wasn't hanging out. There was nobody. It's not a convenience store where people loiter. She wasn't young enough to just be in there just doing nothing. She would have had a purpose. But I never saw her anymore. Like, I saw her sweatshirt, but then it's like she turned around from the counter again. But y'all, when my husband called me, I said, "Can I tell you something?" He said, "What?" I said, "I think I just saw a spirit." I said, "Everything in me feels like she was not real." I said, "In the energy shift that I felt when I locked eyes with her, I'm terrified. I was scared driving home." When I got to my house, I told my mom about it, and my mom immediately said, she said, "Neek," she said, "that wasn't a person." She said, "That was a spirit." She said, "And if she was a real person, God allowed you to see the spirit that was operating in her, or a demonic entity that was in her." Pause, y'all. I told y'all that I had been battling a sickness that month. So that morning on my way to work, I was listening to my prayer, my worship. I was listening to a sermon. And at the end of it, I was praying and I was asking God to reveal to me what was going on around me. And I said this prayer, like, reveal to me the spirits inside of people, like allow them to expose themselves, just because I just wanted clarity about the people that I was around and that was in my space, because I was just going through so much. Fast forward to this encounter, I had forgotten that I even prayed that prayer until my mom brought it back to me. She was like, "And if it was a person, God maybe just allowed you to see the demonic entity that was operating on that person." Y'all, I don't know if y'all believe me or not. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this or felt this way or not. Listen, everything in me tells me that I didn't encounter a real person, that she was not a real person, that was a spirit, that was an entity, that was something that God had allowed me to see with my spiritual eyes. The fear that I felt, the dread that I felt when I locked eyes with her, I looked at her, my heart dropped. I immediately felt panicked. I felt scared. I felt like, this ain't right. She ain't right. Her body movements was very unnatural. Her head was like this. She said, "You're so pretty." And her head popped up like this. Her voice she didn't look young enough to possess a voice that sounded so childlike. You're so pretty. That's how she spoke. I definitely believe that everybody walking the street with us is not amongst us. Let me know if y'all have ever experienced anything like that. But that's just my story.
That story is bizarre, and no, I have not experienced anything like that, nor do I want to ever experience anything like that.
Y'all getting on these Zoom calls with no protection, no spiritual protection, and you don't know how many people going to be looking at you and all up in the room. And I'm talking about spirits. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about spirits looking at you. Yeah, you. You better get suited and booted. You better get suited and booted and protect yourself. That's what I said. Protect yourself, baby. Out here in these social media streets. You don't know who's looking. Oh, hey. You don't know who's looking. And like the older saints used to say, looking and booking. No entrapments in my soul. Oh, hell no. You heard what I said. Hell no. Wrap it up. It's tight and it's right. Bam. We ready.
And she just told me how to do a head wrap.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
Okay, so this story still freaks me out to this day. Every time I tell it, it gives me goosebumps. I cannot believe that this happened to me and my colleague. But I figured I would share. So I was working a few years ago at a NICU as a night shift nurse here in Dallas. And we do our touch times every 3 hours. And of course, around 3 a.m., I'm kind of doing my touch time. And where I was kind of down the hallway at the very end. It was in the triplet room, but where I was standing, I could see all the way down the hallway. And I'm getting the milk ready, about to put it in the warmer, and I see my friend around the corner. And she is walking to me like fast, and she looks ghostly white. Her eyes were wide. And she said, Kendall, you need to drop what you're doing and you need to follow me now. You have to come and see this. So I'm like, okay, well, let me put this in the warmer real quick and then I'll follow you. So I put it in the warmer and I start walking down the hallway around the corner. And as we're walking, she's kind of telling me what happened. And so she was, kind of to give you a layout of the land first, she was in 2 twin rooms. In each room, there was two beds with babies in them. And in between, there's a sliding glass door separating the rooms. So you could open it if there happened to be 4 babies. You could just leave it open. But hers was closed to separate the rooms. And in between each bed spot, there was a computer in between. And she had lullaby music playing on it. And she was in one room with one of the babies, and she was about to draw a lab on it. And all of a sudden, the computer screen shuts off and she notices that the music stopped playing. And so she kind of glances up and she's like, oh, that's weird. And out of the corner of her eye in the opposite room, through the sliding glass doors, she sees on that computer something red. So she fully looks at it, and it is a red devil face, fully taking up the entirety of the screen, staring at her, and like on the screen. And so she immediately drops what she's doing, and that's when she grabbed me. So I'm rounding the corner, fully expecting it not to be there still, after all the time of her coming to get me and coming back. But I round the corner, and from the hallway, I look into the room, and I also see it. So both of us are looking at this. My mouth drops wide open. I get teary-eyed. I'm basically crying because I'm so scared. And I was too afraid to go in that room. So we go into the other room that she was in originally, and I'm standing on the opposite side of the sliding glass door into that room, just staring at this face, this devil face on the screen. And I didn't know what to do. But I'm religious, so I immediately start praying out loud. I said, Lord, please protect us. Please protect this baby. Whatever this is, it is not welcome here. And I just repeated that because I didn't know what else to do. It literally makes my eyes water because it scares the crap out of me. I couldn't make this up. And so I was repeating that for a solid minute and somehow mustered up the courage to say, you know what, this isn't okay. I'm going to turn it off. I take a step towards the door and the screen shuts off. It goes black for a split second. And then all of a sudden it goes back to playing YouTube. Playing like the lullaby music that was on YouTube. And I go in there and I scour it because I am a little bit of a skeptic, and I looked at the search history. I looked at everything that it could have possibly been, like any browsers that were open, anything. I also know that with YouTube, if it's baby lullaby music, generally the commercials that pop up are relatable. So you're going to see diaper commercials and things like that. And I mean, I was so just confused as to what that could have been. And I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, something evil is there. I was so afraid to go back to work. We obviously reported it just in case there was some sort of hacking into the system, but it's a secure system because at the end of the day, it is a hospital. They have a lot of records that they have to keep secure. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Like I said, I can't believe that this happened to me. It still freaks me out to this day, but I don't know.
I don't know either, ma'am. I'm more inclined to think that somebody hacked into that system, but why? I don't know. But you all have reached the end of this video. I feel like this was a very long one. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share my videos with your friends, anyone who may want some spooky entertainment. And until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.